In this video, we're going to go into more detail about how to build a Sqoop job. So I'm going to go from the menu on the top and build a new Sqoop job. We're going to place the project in a folder just to keep it organized, the Sqoop's folder, and I'm going to call this one Sqoop in. And the reason I'm calling Sqoop in because I'm going to scoop into Hive, into Hadoop. The target data source is going to be my Hive data source, and the target schema is going to be sales and weather. If you don't have a schema created, you can leave this. You can actually type the name of the schema, and our process will create a schema for you. And then you have to select the tables where you're going to copy data from. Now, this can be coming from a single SQL source or from multiple SQL sources. You just have to. You can actually put multiple tables and multiple database sources in a single job. So in this case, I'm going to take this data from that database, and if you see the options here, this by default is replace, which is basically going to drop and recreate the table on the target, in this case in Hadoop. The other options are CDC, change data capture, and change data capture. Basically, if the table has a primary key, it will actually use that primary key to define a hash on the table side that shows the data in the table and compare every time you load it, and only keep updating the table with changes to the data or new rows. So you have a history of that of changes to that table. Now, if the table does not have a primary key defined, Big Data Integrator allows you to select columns from the source to define that primary key, so that way you can leverage change data capture. So in this case, I know that I want to copy that information in full, so I'm not going to select CDC. I am going to get back to replace. Now, another option that you have is to use native. So if you select native, you basically can type your own Sqoop parameters. So if you're an advanced user of Sqoop and you want to make some specific you give some specific arguments to Sqoop, you can do it by selecting native from these options. So just to recap, CDC will actually, based on a primary key, capture changes to that table as it gets ingested, insert new records, and insert a new version of the existing records with an updated timestamp. Another option that you have from the UI is Direct. And what Direct does is allows you to use the native drivers for the database platform that you're working on. So instead of doing a load to stage, you're doing direct load from source to target directly. And that is if you deploy the appropriate drivers to the cluster. Now, once you have the job defined, you define a configuration to execute it. If you right-click on the job, you can actually build the code that will be generated and executed on the cluster. And you can explore this code to know exactly what's been done to get the data in. The scripts are visible here, and you can see both the HQL and the Scala code that will be executed to facilitate, in this case, the change data capture. And you can also see the HQL that is generated to be able to identify the rows that have changed during that capture. So all these scripts get published to the edge node and then executed and natively run inside the cluster.